Hi, this is Amy's Story with Bright Agrotech, and I'm here with Haydn at Bayberry Fresh, and today we're going to learn a little bit about how Haydn runs his fertigation system with cherry tomatoes.
So my fertigation system that I use here on these tomatoes is a run-to-waste system, and basically it's a really simple system. We're basically just irrigating with our water and fertilizer to meet the plant's needs, and then whatever is excess is just running out the bottom and it's run to waste. And we can either we can collect that waste and put it somewhere else if we want to take care of it, or just let it run off into the pasture, that sort of thing. And then hydroponics in this type of setup compared to soil, we have much less evaporation. If our greenhouse if we're keeping the temperature right, we might have a lot less evapotranspiration that we're losing water. We're not losing water to deep percolation down into the soil. We don't have runoff like if you're doing flood irrigating or anything like that. So really it's a lot more confined and controlled. So if you look at the overall inputs versus outputs, it's really a lot more efficient. So the flow to waste compared to traditional soil benefits, because you're going to have, obviously a higher yield is more expensive, but you should have a higher yield. It gives you the ability to manage your nutrients in your plant a little bit more closely. You can put your nutrients in your water right to your root system. You don't necessarily have as much evaporation or runoff or loss to the soil, that sort of thing. The flow to waste is just really simple and it's cheap. You don't have to have drainage channels. You don't have to have collection tanks and pumps to move it back up. It keeps everything more simpler because I only have one pump on a timer, and I don't have to worry about all these other moving parts. So it keeps it simpler and less problematic, and it's also just cheaper. So as far as a system or equipment to do this, other than the greenhouse, obviously, it's really pretty easy and pretty simple. I have you got to have some sort of trellising system, which for me is just posts and wire and somewhat connected to the top of the greenhouse. I have a irrigation system made out of just run-of-the-mill poly parts from Home Depot or something like that. I have regular 3-gallon nursery pots, filled with coconut coir, and then tomahawks and clips to hang them up, which are really simple or cheap and easy to come by. Every 3 to 4 days, I mix concentrate tanks, and then to mix up the fertilizer that it's going to mix in the main tank to run through the irrigation. Other than that, I don't necessarily do anything specific unless I have a problem, because anytime I'm in the greenhouse doing anything else, I'm keeping, as I walk out the door, I check out the monitor and make sure there's nothing wrong. I'm always walking up and down the aisle, so while I'm doing other stuff, I can be checking for drippers. So unless there's a problem, I really don't have to do anything specific. If drippers are out, it's all simple. Just put the drippers back, and once in a while, if a pump burns out, replace the pump, or if you get a injection tube or something clogged, clean that stuff out. But all that's doesn't happen very often. So as far as media, I used sand my first year primarily because it was just kind of a side experiment, and sand is really cheap, but it doesn't hold any water, and you got to irrigate a lot, and it's a pain in the butt. So I'm using coconut coir now because it is a little bit more sustainable. It doesn't have the waste problems like rock wool does, so you can get rid of it easier. It also is a lot cheaper, and it just works really well too. And it's cheap as far as the media goes, as far as what you get out of it, if that makes sense. Yeah, so next year I'm going to keep doing the same kind of system because I already have it in place. And next year I want to focus on more producing and not be building a bunch of things for a year. But eventually I'd like to switch over to a similar system that has a little bit fancier trellising, a gutter connect greenhouse with a ceiling trusses I can hook to, and have a slab or gutter systems to collect the runoff a little bit more precisely and put it where I want to. But really the same system because it works really well. And there again, even if you fix it up a little bit, it's still really cheap and simple.
If you were to give, some farmers advice on starting a system like this, what sort of advice would you give?
keep it cheap and simple. Use timers from Home Depot and irrigation parts from Home Depot, and use stuff that's easily available and simple. Don't get overcomplicated and overthink it. It's not, you can get really high tech and really complicated, but you don't need to do that until you've really learned how to just do a basic, simple system really well.